Lots of interest, and it's an opportunity for you to call in and voice your opinions. I man the phones and take your calls, and we'd love to hear from you. So anyways, but that's an article for you to read, and I'm real proud to be able to be part of the project here. You know, I've been getting some nice compliments on the show lately. I don't know why. But your relatives keep calling me and telling me how much they like. No, but I run into people out on the street and they'll say, "Aren't you the guy that's on?" Yeah, I go, "Yeah." And so we're getting some face recognition out there. So, well, to everybody out in Sherman and Jamestown and Bemis Point and Ripley, Westfield area, I run into folks out there. I'm glad you're watching the show. Just briefly, I wanted to just say, do you realize an icon of television passed away? Jim Arness, 88 years old. Do you know how tall he was, Reed?
6'7".
Ah, you read the paper today.
No.
6'7". No, you knew this?
I just knew it.
You just knew this. I'm 6 foot, like almost 2, so that's another 5 inches taller than me. He probably hardly cleared the doorway here. But anyways, what an icon in television. I watched him for 20 years like everybody else, and I was just thinking about Westerns and history because that's our theme today. And my new article that I just wrote for the magazine coming up in June is all about reading books and the classics. And I had never read a Zane Grey in my life. And I decided to go to the library last year, and I picked up 3 of them for like 50 cents a piece. So I picked up, I just finished one of the Zane Greys, and kind of reminded me of that Matt Dillon era and the Old West and that sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to your talk today, Mary Belle, and about Westfield, and maybe we can hear a little bit about Ripley, my hometown now. And Reed, I don't have too much more to tell you other than it's been a pleasure so far with the show here, and I'm going to turn it right back to you.
Thank you very much. And who could ever forget Miss Kitty?
There you go.
Okay, friends. I did get a final. Somebody just sent in a note quickly. They said, don't forget the Westfield crowd. They have a great crowd at Senior Citizens. They meet over at the YWCA, and they wanted us to remember that the school budget vote is May 17th. Do not forget it. Make sure it gets May 17th. That's a long time ago. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. The budget did get passed, friends. The next meeting is Thursday, June 9th, over at the Westfield YWCA. And make sure you drop around. It's a great place. It has a history itself, too. It used to be where single young ladies would live. They had rooms there, and that was a long time ago. Okay, friends, we have our guest here. Mary Belle doesn't believe that she is going to ever get on the air because I keep talking. I knew her as Mary Belle Blackburn back when I went to school, and her father actually taught shop, and he taught me.
Yeah?
I was one of his classes. And she left. Well, tell us a little bit of. Good morning, Mary Belle. Say hello to her.
Hi, folks.
Okay. Say hi to your mother.
Hi, Mom. I hope you're watching. She said she might watch.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's great. If not, you can always pick it up on YouTube later on. You know.
Yeah, if I can get her to do that.
Okay. Well, you got to pump it up for her. You know.
Yeah, I'll pump it up for her. Yes.
Okay. Mary Belle is the official historian of Westfield, the town and village. And tell me, you lived in Westfield as a kid, and then what happened to you? You disappeared.
I disappeared. You can't disappear. Too large to do that. Yes, I grew up, went all the way through the schools in Westfield, and I graduated from Westfield Academy and Central School in 1958. And then I went away to college to Albany State, and that's where I met my first husband. And got married and started teaching in the public schools of New York State, then off to private coeducational liberal boarding high schools in Massachusetts. We decided we wanted to start an alternative school, or actually an alternative educational community.
Very difficult, I might add.
Oh, it was quite the experience. So we had visited San Francisco on our first trip ever across the country in '65. So we decided that we'd go back out there and see if we could start something out there. And
how'd it go? Did you start one?
Actually, we started
Did it survive?
Bay High School.
Uh-huh.
It was It ran for 3.5 years. It started off in the Lutheran Church of the Cross on University Avenue in Berkeley. And then we moved into a huge warehouse, which we built in a bunch of bunch of shops and a theater, and like we had candle making, and we had printing, and we had auto repair, and we had a woodworking shop, cabinet making shop. In fact, I even taught women's woodworking, which was a lot of fun. Then the Berkeley Public Schools got a several $million-dollar grant and put us out of business because we were, of course, tuition-based. So we went on to well, we made it into like a co-op where all the shops kind of worked together. But of course, this was the hippie era, and most of them wanted to sit around and smoke pot.
This sounds like a big commune I checked in and out of in Colorado called Libre, and they had basically their auto shop had strictly Volkswagens though.
Oh, no.
Everybody had a Volkswagen.
Oh, yeah.
Most of them could take one apart and put it together in the dark.
Oh, yeah.
And they had everything. They had bodies all around, so they had parts, they had everything. And so it was a terrific auto shop because you had any problem with your car, they took care of it in a wink.
Right. Well, that folded. I had to put the whole corporation through bankruptcy. We ran a nonprofit corporation.
Yeah.
And so we cast around.
I was involved with a similar school, and it folded.
Yeah. Well, both,
it was in a church, too.
Yeah. Both my husband and I were physics majors in college, so we decided we'd get involved in electronics, which was one of our interesting fields in physics. So he went off and worked in industry for a little while, then started teaching electronics. And pretty soon I followed him. I went to the junior college in Oakland, and just to pick up a few pointers. And then I started teaching electronics. We both started teaching electronics at Heald Institute of Technology in San Francisco.
Then you shed him.
Well, no, I didn't shed him then. He shed me quite a few years later. He got tapped to write a textbook and on microprocessors, and because he'd developed that. This was right at the time when microprocessors were just becoming really important.
Yes,
so he wrote a textbook which became the standard one for the community colleges for a long time, Microprocessors and Digital Systems by Douglas V. Hall. That was his name. And I wrote some of the stuff for the lab manual, and so my name was on it, MaryBelleBeighpt2. Hall.
Well, how about that?
Actually, I'm a published author, huh?
Well, that's terrific. And then what happened?
Well, the person that reviewed, one of the persons that reviewed the book while it was in process was from Portland Community College up in Oregon. So
not Portland, New York. Here.
No, Portland, Oregon. Yeah, and not even Portland, Maine either.
No.
No, and he invited my husband to go teach there, and sure enough, he went up and started teaching at Portland Community College in Portland.
And where'd you go?
I went got them. I tried to get a job in industry. That didn't work too well, so I started teaching electronics in the community colleges, and eventually started doing the community colleges at in Oregon City. But then he decided he didn't want to be married to me anymore. So
where you went? But you got another husband, right?
Yeah, not too long after that, I met Henry B. And Henry B. and I got married and started a little company called Life Songs. We did music and poetry and all that kind of stuff.
Everything a little bit.
And
what happened to Mr. B?
Oh, Mr. B's gone.
He's gone?
Yeah. And so so we're divorced, and I've been divorced since '96.
So you've had two husbands?
I've had two husbands.
You remind me of
two divorces.
Zsa Gabor used to say, "I'm a great housekeeper. I've had 5 houses from husband divorce."
Yeah, well, yeah, I ended up doing most of the finances and all of that. But anyway, I taught at Chemeketa Community College for 16 years in Salem, Oregon, and then I retired from there. And my mother says, "Please come back. Your stepdad and I need you here to help." So I came back in 2003.
So in 2003, you've been in Westfield for, well, that's quite a while now.
Yeah.
And how did you ever get into this history gig?
Well,
they pay big money, I understand.
Billy Dibble was the historian, and she's a shirt-tail relative, and I used to hang out with her up in the library.
She is irreplaceable. You cannot replace.
No, there's no way. In fact, I said when I entered it, and I says there's awfully big footsteps to follow, and she just has been she was a terrific woman. Not too long after she retired.
She was very old when she retired too.
Yeah, she was in I think 93 or something.
4 or something like
somewhere
that.
around there.
And she was just as sharp as a new dime.
She was as sharp from the day one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so now you're doing that, and you pointed out the state requires every town and village to have a historian, but I'll bet they don't require them to pay.
No, they don't require them. No, there is no requirement for pay, although the historians on the other side of the state, which of course have lots of money, they're full time. I'm probably more than full time, but I certainly don't get paid for that. No, I do get a stipend from each of the village and the
well, at least
and the town.
They recognize your ability in that.
It may pay for the paper and ink that
Maybe the gas.
and the gas to chase around. Yeah, I don't know about the gas.
It's probably not the gas these days, right?
No, not these days.
Well, now tell me, Westfield has been there for quite a while. I think it's 1860, let's see, 1802 or 3, depending on who you believe.
1802 was when the first settler came in and started, actually started something that stayed there physically.
Who was the first settler?
You ask me questions, and my old memory goes away.
McMahon was the first.
McMahon
was the first settler.
There were two of them.
Chautauqua County.
Yeah, he and his brother both came in.
And Art Tennant was a great-great-grandson of McMahon.
Absolutely, absolutely. Art Tennant's son. Art Tennant's son was in my class.
So which one, Bob or Jim?
Bob.
There are two of them.
Yeah,
okay, we were like brothers. We were distantly related, and we spent a lot of time together.
Yeah, I enjoyed. Jim actually came down one day with a bicycle he put together out of two bicycles.
He was very talented.
He was a creative guy.
Yeah, he was.
And he taught. That's what got me into electronics. He taught. The Morse code class, and then I got my ham license.
And so did I, and so did Bobby. All of us had ham.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how I knew Coog Gunlock.
Oh, yeah?
And one day I moved to Westfield, and I'm sitting there watching my TV, and suddenly I hear Coog Gunlock. I can tell it's his voice. I said, why is he on my TV? Just the voice. Then I discovered that he lived right next door, and he still transmitted CW voice at that time, and it was bleeding into my TV.
Oh, that's interesting.
I went over and reintroduced myself because he'd run the ham radio here in Westfield when I was a kid, and what a guy.
Yeah.
God bless him, he just passed away not too long ago, and his daughter still lives next door.
Yeah, well, that was quite an exciting time. Then, of course, I went away to college after that, so.
Well, I'll tell you, Westfield there's an interesting lore about the French who were coming through, and the British chased them down, and they carried a big cache of gold. And they buried the gold up in the hills of Westfield, along the gorge somewhere. And everybody is up there looking for that gold all the time.
That's one of those. I wrote several columns. I write a column called Beelines for the Westfield Republican, and I also pair it with Billy Dibbles Dabbles that they're republishing, and I decided to do some on the myths and legends of the area, and that is one that has basically been shown to be probably false, although there are some other legends that may be quite true. There's another legend about gold being carried around that came in from Oregon.
Really?
Mackenzie or somebody like that. And there's a Mackenzie River out there, but supposedly, Jack Dean can tell you about that one. That's a really interesting story.
He has a beautiful house.
Jack Dean?
Yeah.
Yeah?
On the corner of 2nd and Portage.
Oh, yes.
It's actually in the historic...
this is French Historic District of Westfield.
It's in the National Historic thing for houses, registry.
Yeah.
And up on there's a window up top where Eason had scratched her engagement into the window back in the 1800s.
Yes.
And
yes.
I know this because my son owned the house for a while.
Yeah.
He bought it from Jack Dean, and then he left it, and he Jack Dean's daughter bought it, although Jack probably picked it up.
Oh, yeah, he's,
For half the price, I might add.
well, the
But
prices
it's
go
still
up and
beautiful.
down.
It's still beautiful. It needs a little work, so when Jimmy sold it, though, so, yeah, it was fair
Yeah,
enough.
we have a lot of incredibly historic homes in Westfield, and
Not to mention the lighthouse. Now, that's the first